So one question that often comes up in retreats, our comment is, when I'm in retreat, I'm able to uh, cultivate peace and stillness and samadhi, um, or there's just obvious presence. And then when I leave retreat, uh, it's not so easy, or it seems to just completely collapse, except for perhaps tastes here and there during meditation. And then the question is how to not have that happen, or what kind of strategies may be helpful. Well, the first thing about it is that's sometimes just going to happen, and that's going to happen for a while. Doesn't always happen, but it takes a while before that kind of presence has a sort of stability to it. And it tends to be situational for a while. But it doesn't have to be. This presence that we feel deepening, clarifying through retreat is always here, of course. It's always there wherever you are, in whatever situation. But often, just the thought itself, it's a thought of worry that, oh, okay, well, as soon as I leave retreat, then I'm going to start getting distracted, or it's a matter of time before this peace that I'm feeling dissolves away, or whatever, or is replaced by the busyness of life. But often, the thought itself, that single thought, is a good entry point. Just realizing we have one single thought that is seeming to summarize our life or our experience, spanning days, months, years, even decades. This is the power of the spell of believing one thought. Thoughts don't have a lot of power. Actually, they don't really have any power in a very real sense. But the power we give them is often related to time, to the belief in time. A thought or a belief will claim a lot more territory than it really inhabits, because it doesn't really inhabit any territory. But if it could be said to be anywhere, it's only right here, right now. It's a momentary collection of impressions in the mind. It's a movement in consciousness that's coming and going all the time. But there's something about a relationship with thought, something about a relationship with thought that makes it feel like there's someone who is in that relationship called me. That's the key to understanding where this suffering is rooted. Because, again, that one thought that can seem to hold so much truth or weight or power is really only powerful in that we believe it. Like, why can I feel suddenly doubtful in this moment in retreat or immediately after retreat? Simply because a thought comes to tell me that, well, every time I leave retreat, then this happens and that happens, and it has evidence, right? It can reference something that happened in the past or whatever. But what's uncomfortable isn't the seeming truth that thought is pointing to, that has to do with a story about you. What's uncomfortable is actually the relationship with thought. And what's uncomfortable is the subjective end of that arrangement of experience. And the subjective end feels like you. And that's what's uncomfortable. It feels like a you that's defined by thought, by time, by a narrative, by a story. And it's uncomfortable because it's just not the case. So it's our own clinging to thought structures, beliefs, storylines in the moment, only right here in this moment. That's what's uncomfortable. And it will always remain uncomfortable until we look closely enough, until that spell is broken, which can happen for sure. So again, when these thoughts come, when these perceptions and impressions come, it doesn't have to be about this specific subject we're talking about. It's just a common one with this situation. Retreat is coming to a close. You could ask yourself, why do I believe that thought right now? Or you could ask yourself, what is the cost of believing that thought right now? Will I carry this belief forward into the next thought and the next thought and just start a ongoing relationship with thought again? Or will I just stop and question, well, where is that even happening? Where's the me that seems to refer to? Let's find that before we believe a story about it. Let's find the main character before we start believing stories about that main character that can only be confirmed with more thoughts. Can't be confirmed right now. In fact, nothing can be confirmed right now except for maybe one thing, and that's that which is unconditioned by thought. But it's not confirmed by thought. It's confirmed because it just is. Simply, as I was pointing to in guided meditation this morning. So who are you without the story of how you function in time? Who are you without the story of the tendencies that define your life? Who are you without a narrative about what you're sure is going to happen, or what you think is going to happen? Can you drop off of that narrative right now by looking backward into what you feel like is you and seeing there's nothing there? There's nothing specific there. There's nothing that's moving through time there. There's nothing that's bound into time there. There's nothing that's bound into causality there. There's nothing that can be bound in any way because there's nothing to attach to. It's just taking the backward step again and again and again. Or looking at what is right now and seeing it's not in the past ever, and seeing it's not in the future ever. And then you're left with something exquisitely simple. Something like a sensory collage, and also a sort of letting go that's endlessly happening, endlessly letting go. The letting go itself isn't a choice for you to make. It's not an act, and it's not a process. It's actually how this is. There's nothing that holds, nothing that binds. Nothing is hindered by any particular type of knowing or resistance or relationship or struggle. Those experiences are experiences. They're ultimately just a thought, a movement in consciousness, and maybe a sensation in the body. But they don't refer to anything. There's nothing that's bound by struggle. There's just struggle, if there is. And the closer you look at it, the less that's there. And then if you look back to see what it is it refers to, you won't find anything. Just a collection of experiences, changing all the time, morphing, dissolving, appearing, not appearing. So you can rest in the appearances just fine when you don't hold them, when you don't try to paint a picture in your mind or try to discern what they mean, especially what they mean to you. You don't try to collect experiences, then experience is perfectly fine. It's extremely light, enjoyable. Experience is experiencing itself and nothing else. This knowing, this recognition, doesn't require meditation. It doesn't require being in deep situational stillness or quietude. It's there, but it's also in activity and movement, in situations and events in life. It's right there as well. So if there's something that seems to hinder us with this movement of leaving retreat and entering whatever's not retreat, if there's something that hinders that, it's the belief that there is something fundamentally different happening. But there isn't. But that's more thought. The thoughts separate things in life and they compartmentalize. This is like this, and this is different than that. This situation is easy to be present in, and that situation's not. And that seems very real for a while, for sure. It seems very real. But it's always surprising when those perceptual veils fall away more and more. And you realize it really is the same thing to move about or to sit still. How do you even differentiate those? Only through more thinking. And the thinking is related to other thoughts and other perceptions. And the whole collection of thoughts and perceptions are all come down to a point, and they're rooted in this thing called me. So by seeing that clearly, then we don't need to take sides with any belief or thought or perception, because they're all contingent upon something that we won't find ever anyway. So then our attention is freed to experience everything just as it is, however it is. Moving or still, quiet or loud, simple or complex. Because the changeability and the lack of any specific position and the emptiness of abiding essence is always there. It's always here. And that is our freedom. It's your escape route into everything. It's your escape route into now, 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 now. Sometimes it's a very subtle perceptual shift that can make a huge difference, and that is, without knowing it, we just feel like we're always trying to get somewhere, but it's a sort of escape feel. That's the part we don't realize. We convince ourselves we're trying to get somewhere, to feel to get what we want, but we don't always realize that underneath all of that is a feeling of always being in a situation we don't want. Like we're actually trying to get out of something. And that's a more fundamental experience that we kind of bury. But when that shifts, when that changes and it's realized that there's nothing you can get out of, whatever this is, you're in it fully. And it's not anything solid. It's not anything you can put your finger on. It's just the flow of experience, the flow of appearance. And there's no reason to even try to get out of it, because that paradigm is a misperception. A misperception that you want to get out of anything, or that you could get out of anything, or that there is someone who needs to get out of anything. It's just the kaleidoscopic flow of reality. And it just says here, 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 here. It says it in the language of phenomena, colors and forms and things that are solid and things that are nebulous. But it's right here. It's whatever's happening right now. Right now, right now. So it never leaves you this freedom. It's always in your experience somewhere or everywhere. And when you stop trying to look for it, which the only way you can look for it is to divide up experience unnaturally with the mind. That's the only way you can look for it. But you're looking for it in what it is. You're looking for it in what you want to find. You're looking for what you think you want to find in what you do want to find, and it's always here. And so something can just cause that to subside, the finding, the thinking you're going to find it, the experience of lack, seeking, searching. And then the equanimity of non-distance is revealed. Non-distance and non-struggle. So I have no specific advice for this other than just cultivate a natural receptivity and trust that everything you need is really here already. And when we are receptive to that, then we see that it will often come in forms we didn't expect. It's as if you lean in and meet the senses. Like you lean in and meet the sounds. And then they show you something that you'll never be able to describe or talk about. or you lean into the movements, the sum total of the movement of whatever's happening in this moment. And the movement opens something, a sort of portal, let's say, to a kind of equanimity and clarity that you will never be able to talk about or write about or think about. So don't. There may be no reason at all to talk about it, and often there isn't, or think about it, or collect it as an experience. That's just the enjoyment of being alive, the natural enjoyment of life. Not as a person with a history or a spiritual practitioner, but as life itself, as aliveness, simple aliveness.